Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Racing with Ryan podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Stevens. Going to do things a little bit differently here today. Actually not in the studio. I'm sitting on my front porch, just hanging out, watching the clouds go by. So you'll probably notice that last week we just didn't have a show. And there's some reasons for that. After some things that went down, I just didn't feel like just sitting down and talking about the race night, to be honest with you. So took the night off, and then this week I just didn't feel like hooking everything up in the studio. So I'm sitting out here. You might hear some traffic. You might hear some dogs bark. You might hear my neighbors. I don't know. I'm just going to sit out here and talk for a little bit. So it's going to be a different show, probably a quicker show. And honestly, we're going to take a week off next week too. Everything is rained out in the state of Florida at this point for this coming weekend. So there's nothing going on other than hell on wheels. But honestly, guys, we don't, as much as, we appreciate William and all the stuff he does, we just don't cover that crash and bash type racing. If it's at OSW and we're there, we'll talk about it. But other than that, not really following that line of things as far as the show goes. So just kind of jump back into it here. I want to go back to July 18th. We had the Midsummer Mayhem event, and honestly, it was an event that happened. 13 was the biggest car count, and that was for the ground pounders. There was 8 Bomber A's, 8 Super Stocks, 10 trucks, and 4 modifieds. When I say I didn't feel like sitting around doing a show to talk about 4 modifieds, that's part of the reason I didn't fire everything up a week ago. That's just, I don't know, guys. I'm just going to go direct you to my shows from a couple of years ago where I talked about the modifieds. It's like every time I try to give them another chance. Speed Weeks aside, because Speed Weeks was great this year, but the regular season modifieds, it's just a waste of money. I did the calculations for the payout for a 4-car race, and it's just it's a waste of money. I don't want to say it's a waste of the racer's time, but I don't know. I feel like having a 4-car race isn't something that they're really all that interested in doing either, but congratulations to Brad Bowman, who got the win. Richie Smith led for a while. He broke, and then Brad Bowman took the win there. In the trucks, it was Nolan Mesa who held off Grayson Greaves for the win. No George Gorham this week, only 10 trucks, clean and green to the finish, but always good to see Nolan Mesa and that small team get the victory. We did learn that Nolan's got some late model stuff he's focusing on up north, which is why he's not a full-time competitor this year, but glad to have him in the house and glad he got a victory. Super Stocks, it was nice to see a couple of new Super Stocks there. Of course, they were both DNS for the feature. The only caution of the entire day was in this Super Stock feature when Mike Amato went for a spin, and it would be George Spears who would hold off Tyler Prenesti for the win in the Super Stocks, with Bobby Hawley third on the 18th. The Bushman Bomber A's, it would be Stephen Brown who would hold off Eddie Evans and Preston Obremski to get the win in a caution-free race. So congratulations to Stephen Brown for the win there a couple of weeks ago. And then in the ground pounders, Art Koonsman was your stock car winner. Robert Piccolo, your modified winner. And let's see, Eric, nope, scratch that. Of course, the loudest car in the world would come by as we're trying to do this. Frank Pelkey would be the sportsman winner on the 18th. So that's just a look back. Congratulations to those guys. Most recently, we had $5 Family Fun Night here on the 25th, and we'll go over the results of that real quick. This was a better event. Car counts weren't spectacular by any means, but they were passable in most classes. Some were a little down, and we'll talk about it here. Sportsman, only 7 cars. This division is falling off a cliff, and it's tough to see. This was one of my favorite classes back in the day that got me interested in all of this stuff, and it's just a shame to see that it's become they've become limited late models. They've become, we're going to save it for the tour type stuff, and that's unfortunate, but it was good to see Dylan LeBeau pick up a win. And how about Sean Fitzgerald? I just want to talk about these guys for a moment here. Dylan LeBeau with an incredible run, benefited from Chase Simons, who was out in a new car. Chase Simons blew a tire on a restart. He did a whale of a job to not need a rear clip on that car when he saved it. With Chase Simons going out, they had to put a new rear tire on there. Car was probably out of balance handling-wise from that point on. And Dylan LeBeau capitalized and finally got a win for Rick Harris there, which was great to see. So Dylan LeBeau picks up the win over Sean Fitzgerald, who, I'm telling you, the last month, Sean Fitzgerald has gone from somebody in the field to a contender. And, he may need a couple things to go right in a race, but he's right up there now. And he's a podium threat week in and week out. So definitely love seeing that. So congratulations to those two guys capitalizing on the opportunity. Shout out again to Fallon Goolsby, who was in attendance. He was up on the podium as well, but he had a restart violation penalty that he did not serve. So he had to, he dropped back to the end of the lead lap. And then Donovan Ponder, the point leader, had mechanical problems and would actually finish last in the race. So an eventful sportsman race there last weekend. E-Mods, this division was a little bit down. Only 8 cars. We've been pulling double-digit E-Mods all season long. So we're definitely missing some people here. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But an 8-car race, it was still exciting. Max Wheeler picked up the win over Dalton Simons. Carson May, the point leader, had to come from the back of the field. He would finish in 3rd. Dylan Sale, Jonathan Menninga, your top 5. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was really anything major that transpired in this one. But Max Wheeler, again, this division, even with kind of a down night car count-wise, very competitive. Wheeler, Simons, May, any one of them can win on any given night. It's just a matter of track position and who puts together the best race and survives restarts and all that stuff. So that's going to be fun to watch for the rest of the year. The 602 Modified is disappointing here. Only 5 cars. They texted me early in the week and asked if they could be first. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Because honestly, if somebody gets to me about schedule stuff before the week starts or on Monday, I can work with them. And I was excited to give the 602s a shot at the top of the card on a family fun night. And I can assure you that will not happen again unless I am specifically told by higher powers otherwise. I look to start our shows off with a class that has shown promise and potential and bringing a good car count. I get there's some cars out with some of the wrecks and stuff. Carter Blue, we had a big wreck a couple weeks ago. The Helds seemed to be out. John Lozniak and wasn't there, so I get it. It was a down night, but until they pick it back up, they will not be at the top of the card for a while. Oh, but Chris Hatton did get the win over Christopher Hatton in the feature. John Hatton was 3rd, then it was Greg Newman and Brian Soch. Bomber A's, nice little field of 12 cars, and the race was pretty good. There was some interesting stuff. On the first lap, Devin Register got a little bit sideways, and he would bounce off Eddie Evans, who would then bring out a caution a couple laps later, and he was given a 2-lap penalty. And when he got told that on pit road, he threw a temper tantrum and made a scene on pit road, which I'm sure you've seen on Speedway video. If you haven't, I believe it's been clipped out in its own separate event, so you can go check that out. But, Eddie was not happy. And I don't know why he got out of the car pointing up at Speedway video all aggressive. I'm still trying to figure out what... I guess he wanted Speedway video to film that fender, He's blaming the fender on the problems. But here's what I'll say on that. There are people that have earned benefit of the doubt, and then there are those that have not or have... squandered the benefit of the doubt, if you will. And I'm not going to name names, but I kind of say if you do have a legitimate problem, there's no harm in letting the push truck come push you to the pits, get yourself fixed up, and get back in the field. You won't lose any laps. When you leave it up to race control, sometimes they're going to rule against you, especially if you're holding up the show or if they deem that you're holding up the show. So that was the call on Eddie Evans, and right or wrong or what you think, Again, if you had waited for the tow truck, you would have been right back in the mix. But when this one was all settled, photo finish between Preston Obremski and Aaron Foy. People say, oh, look at the video. Well, we go with official timing and scoring and the officials in the tower, and they say that Preston Obremski got the win. Aaron Foy was 2nd. Stephen Brown was 3rd. Eddie Evans Jr., Larry Masters would be your top 5 there. Stephen Smith, Bomber Bees. This was no surprise. Nice field of 15, though. So fun race. I think a spin by Justin Spears made things interesting for a few moments. But up front, it was all Zachary Curtis. He started 2nd and led most of the race. Nico Garano, the pole sitter, would come home 2nd. His teammate Sean Bailey would round out your top 3. Then it'd be Wes Railing and Jason Scrover in the top 5. Good race, good field of cars. The Bomber Bees have become a division that you can pretty much count on anywhere between 10 to 20 cars every week. 10 being kind of a down night, 15 right there. Kind of on average, and that's what we had on this night. So it was a good turnout there for the Stephen Smith Inc. Bomber Bees. Congratulations again to Zach Curtis, who continues to win. Mod Minis, got to give them a shout out. Great field, 10 Mod Minis. We haven't seen double-digit Mod Minis since I feel like a Governor's Cup weekend when they had kind of a bigger event. We had a bunch of the guys from the West Coast come over, and it was a good race. And this was still during the Sean Bass Volpius Motorsports times when it was pretty much a given they were going to win every time they were here. It's still Volpius won that. But we haven't seen a good field like this in a long time. And honestly, it was a good race. Clint Foley, though, he is becoming the man in the Mod Minis, the Recon rebranded Mod Minis this year. It's been fun to watch. It's clear that if Clint's in the 14, he's going to be the guy to beat. But you always have that in the division. There's the Zach Curtises, there's the Dustin Higdons, there's the Preston Obremskis now. Clint is the man to beat. And he set a pretty torrid pace and was able to beat Brad Blanton. And Randy Glick, who spun in practice into the infield tractor tire, would come home in third. Talked to Brandon Davis, driver of the 710, a little bit in the bar. He came up to me and he was like, man, I'm getting close to talking to you. And I didn't recognize him. Some of these new Mod Mini guys, I have not had the chance to meet them yet. My time in the pits anymore is limited. So a lot of times I get to talk to people after the races, that's why I love to hang around, have a beer, talk to people. Even if I'm not in the mood to talk, I still enjoy talking with these guys after the races. And, got to, Brandon came up to me and said that, and I said, "In which car are you?" Because we got some new drivers this year, and he goes, "I'm the 710 Mod Mini," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, it was good to meet you," and we had a really nice conversation. Toes all the way over from Lakeland, and enjoys coming over this way. So he's blown a couple of motors, but he's getting that all dialed in, and I think he'll be up on the podium before the end of the season. But he finished fourth this week, and Ben Hoff would round out our top five in a very entertaining race, and it's been a very entertaining year for the Mod Minis. This was a class that I will admit, when I was told to put them on the schedule for family fun nights, I said, really? And I grunted, just because the Mod Minis of late had not been worthwhile. And that's my opinion. Again, the thoughts and opinions on the show, they're mine. They don't represent the track, and I'm going to do whatever the track tells me to do. And, now it's fun to have them. They're starting to work their way up the card on a regular basis, and they're, instead of at the end of the night, they're kind of towards the front half of the card, and they deserve to be there right now, and that's great. I don't think any division is bad, but certain iterations of divisions, kind of like the modifieds right now, like they just need, I don't know what boost in the arm they need at this point. They're racing for really good money and only getting 4 cars, so I don't know what the solution is, but there's a quick recap of the races from the last couple of weeks to catch up from last week when there was no show. And again, sorry, the audio is a little bit different. I'm sitting on my front porch here recording from my phone. If you didn't catch that earlier, just kind of sitting and chatting, but I wanted to get something out to you guys. My computer right now is kind of at its wit's end. It's when I record it'll just stop recording multiple times, and I got to go back and re-record. It makes editing a bear, and it takes forever to open the program. So, it still works. It's just very slow, and honestly, I don't feel like battling it right now amongst all the other things going on. So that's why the show is like this today. That's why it's an abbreviated one. And again, with everything canceled for this weekend and no racing at New Smyrna until the 8th, I'm going to take next week off. There's no NASCAR this weekend either, so I will be back after the Family Fun Night Back to School edition, which is going to happen on August the 8th. Which will be a fun show. Let me click on that and tell you what is coming up here, and then we'll quickly talk NASCAR. We'll talk NASCAR for like 5 minutes, and we'll get on out of here. Let me see if I can get this to load here. My phone's starting to get hot. Okay, here we go. Racing on the 8th at New Smyrna. We're gonna have the Ashley Holmes Jack Trucks, Super Stocks, Bomber A, Bomber B, Ground Pounders, Mod Minis, and Spectator Races. So all that coming up for $5 on $5 Family Fun Night. Then we got the Heatwave Pro Late Model 60, and we got Oktoberfest in August. That's what's coming up for the month of October, plus the unofficial kickoff party to Daytona, where the Bomber A's and Bomber B's are going to be racing for a lot of money on just a kind of a enhanced family fun night, if you will. So that's what's coming up. That's what we'll be talking about here. We'll probably do more normal shows coming up here in the month of August. But anyways, today is what it is. Real quick, I'm going to hop over to the NASCAR app here real quick. I will say it is easy to sit here, talk to you guys, and pull up apps on my phone. And ensure that everything's still recording. But first, let's go back. Talked about North Wilkesboro. Joey Logano won that one for his first win of the season. Dominated that. The race was okay, not much to write home about, but it was cool to see NASCAR back at North Wilkesboro, and the talks are North Wilkesboro's getting the All-Star race again, and we're going to revert all the good that we've done, which makes no sense to me. NASCAR I feel like right now they're so lost as far as scheduling goes. They're trying these new things, and the new things are just kind of over the top and not where we should. I mean, it's just like the NFL doing 75 international games a year. I think it's not special anymore, and it's just like NASCAR. Like the things that we're trying, it's not special anymore. It's just it's borderline gimmicky at this point. I think the sport just needs to go back to its serious roots and race real racetracks. And if we're going to rotate the All-Star race, that's fine. Like I don't mind. If New Hampshire wants to be at one year, and then we move it to, move it back to Charlotte. Try it at Martinsville even. I get it. The tracks, it's all about who owns the tracks and all this. So I know I've probably said some tracks that aren't owned by NASCAR or SMI or whatever it is. But you get the idea. I'd rather see Wilkesboro as a points race. I think 450 laps was perfect. I like a longer NASCAR race. I like a 3.5 hour. 4 hours is probably too, I don't want to say too long, but nobody wants to watch a 4 hour NASCAR race. But again, I think a lot of us watch it on playback anyway, so we're fast forwarding through the dull parts. So I just don't understand the hoopla, and people want shorter races and want 2 hour races. And if you want that, go watch sprint cars. Go with Larson. Go watch your sprint cars, and let us NASCAR folks enjoy a slow burn, or we can crack open a couple of beers and eat some chicken wings on the weekends, or whenever we get a chance to watch a race. Speaking of races and short, the Brickyard 400 also happened since the last time we recorded, and that was a god-awful race. 0 passes for the lead other than on pit road and restarts. Short day for Kyle Larson, so he got his wish. His NASCAR race was very short on Sunday. Blew a tire while leading, probably in position to win the stage, and who knows, if he could hold position, maybe win the race. We did have a few moments in the race that were interesting. We had the big pileup with Blaney, who got turned around and basically cost him $1 million because Todd Gilliland would then come through after the wreck and finish ahead of him by a spot or two and win the $1 million in-season challenge. So congratulations to Todd Gilliland there. And we had some decent racing on the restarts, but that was the only time you're going to have decent racing. Hamlin and Heim swapping the lead back on a couple of restarts. It was fun to watch in brief stints. But then once the race got going and Heim got back out in front, they would just hit that wall of air, and there's nothing Bell could do. There's nothing Logano could do. You just cannot pass. By the time you run, you've got momentum to make a run. You hit the corner, and the car in front of you, the air disturbs the nose of the car behind, and the trailing car loses a couple of tenths of a second, and by the time it gains it back in, not able to get a run before you hit the dirty air again and slide backwards. So that's the problem with the car. On the single groove tracks, the dirty air is too much. Even on the shorter tracks, that lead car just disrupts the air so much, and all the downforce is created under the car versus on top of the car, so that doesn't allow the car behind it to get up there and disturb the air off the spoiler like we've seen in the Xfinity series, so that the leader can get loose so the second place guy can get to him, which if you have a faster car on Xfinity or O'Reilly, you can get to the guy in front of you and pass them, or at least contend with them. Now with the Cup car, there's so much dirty air affecting the nose of the trailing car that the trailing car really has no shot unless they've got another groove and are are extremely faster than the guy in front of them. So Cup car needs some work. That's the long and short of it. Brickyard 400, I like it on the schedule, but we put a lot of effort into making the racing for Daytona pretty decent. I'd like to see the same for some of these marquee tracks. We finally got Charlotte interesting, but we got a tweak on it. I would like to see the dirty air not mean so much for these guys trailing the leaders. But when all was said and done, Corey Heim did get the win of the Brickyard 400, his second one of the year. Pretty surprising for a part-time team to come out and look this good. But I'm telling you, after San Diego, I still would have said next year that Corey Heim would be a fringe playoff contender or chase contender for next year. But I think he's right up there in the top 10 easy next year, and probably a guy we worry about quite often on Sundays. So good for Corey Heim. That kid's a special talent. Definitely excited to see what he can do next year and, hell, the rest of this year too. So real quick, to catch up on Fantasy Live here, let me go look at the standings. RKS Racing, let me check. I got to go to the league here. Racing with Ryan League. Ob's Trackhouse still winning the league over Bob's Fords and 8-Ball Racing. Fourth is Zach Dodge. Fifth is Cole Trickle. Sixth for Staffordshire Motorsports. Then yours truly, RKS Racing, seventh. 76 Motorsports 8th, 9th for Bomber 93, and Richie Petty Jr. rounding out the top 10 overall. Let me just see if I can go back. Let's take a look at North Wilkesboro. The winner that week was Zach Dodge. I finished 5th, so congratulations to Zach Dodge there. And then this week at Indy, it was Lost Highway Sim Racing who got the win over Zach's Dodge. So Zach's Dodge having a nice end of the summer here. And then I finished 8th, so not my best week, but there you go. No racing this weekend. Got NASCAR's final off weekend for the season. And then I believe we head to Iowa after that. We got Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, and Daytona to finish off the regular season before we know who's going to be in the chase. So we'll be talking all about that as we come back. The Iowa Corn 350 at Iowa coming up at Iowa Speedway August 9th. So we'll be back to cover that in a couple of weeks. So you guys enjoy the off week in New Smyrna. Enjoy the NASCAR off weekend. We've got big plans here this weekend with the family. And now that Auburndale has canceled, I will not be making the trek out there. So I will be home and honestly going to take the week off next week with the show. And then we'll probably be back in studio to recap everything that happened right before everybody goes back to school. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you understanding the quality of the show here this week. But I wanted to get something out to you guys, and you guys enjoyed it. Thank you to our sponsors, of course. I believe I forgot to mention that. Just not sitting in the studio with the list in front of me. But big thank you to Paramount Medical Billing, F&F Racing, Do All On and Tree, and Doug Samian. I think he's got a different company now, but big thank you to him. Also, big thank you to Ken Copley, who definitely still missing him. And the Splish and Splash swim program as well. Still time to get swim lessons if you are interested. I know the kids are going back to school, but I know that Tiffany, during the warmer months, will still do late swim lessons, or if you have young children that aren't in school, it's going to work with you throughout the summer, as even when school kicks back in as well. So keep that in mind and let us know if you need swim lessons, and we'll hook you up. And thanks, guys, for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another show. And until then, get out there, support your local short tracks where you can. And as always, take care and vroom vroom on.